Hello, this is Tom Collier and my great host Jason J. Rock Houston. Today we got iconic singer Keith St. John with us. Keith, go ahead.
Hey, you guys, Happy New Year. And yep, this is Keith St. John, and you're watching This Is Metal.
All right, Keith, thanks so much. So we're really excited. You got a big show coming up here. It's what, January 25th. So I just got a couple quick questions for you about that. The first one is, why don't you tell everybody where the show is at, about the show, and how they can get tickets? Really important how they can get tickets to the show. And the second question I have for you, after you tell us about that, and also is Ronnie, are you just doing the old Montrose? Are you doing any Montrose with Gamma? And the second question I have for you is, what was it like to tour with one of my favorite guitar players? I mean, what I call his album, the Montrose album, the greatest 8 songs ever recorded on one album. And everybody laughs at me when I say that, but I just think they are. But go ahead, Keith. Tell us about your show first. We want to hear all
Okay,
about that.
okay. First, I just want to say that wasn't 2 questions. That was about 9 questions. So
I
basically,
know.
you're done. You're done, and I'm going to do the whole interview from here, right?
All right,
We just
perfect. Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
finished. That'll take the whole half hour, or whatever it is.
Love
Okay.
it. Go for it.
So
This is all about you tonight.
the show is Ronnie Montrose Remembered, and it is what it sounds like. It's a celebratory concert, a tribute to rock and roll's one of the biggest, most iconic early rock guitar players, Ronnie Montrose. I myself was in the band Montrose for several years, about 12 years, and we toured on and off and did a lot of great stuff together, which we will get into. But so around the NAMM convention in Anaheim, California, that's the Music Merchants Convention, since 2016, except during COVID-19, I've been doing these around NAMM, and it's really worked out because a lot of the music industry people are mid age to older age folks, and they've been around for a while, and they remember Montrose from the early days. Um, a lot of the California West Coast based players, they grew up on the Montrose music. So when I call them from all these iconic, 80s and some 70s bands and even some 60s bands to come and play, the response is usually pretty good. So we've got a lot of great players coming down from a lot of great bands. The event this year is at the House of Blues, Anaheim, which is less than a mile from the convention center. So it's a quick, cheap ride or Uber ride or walk or whatever. It's the first time we've been at the House of Blues. It's more of a VIP style event this year, the whole event. So everyone that comes is going to get stuff, including like artist meet and greets, t-shirts, guitar picks, signed posters, et cetera, pictures backstage with the players that are playing. And I don't know if you have a list of players or what we've got so far for the show. I'm a little bit on the run. I don't have it in front of me, but we've got members of Great White, Jack's Great White, lots of old members of Ronnie's bands, Montrose, the Edgar Winter Group, Gamma, which while I'm going through this list, I'll get back to one of your other questions and say we are going to play some Gamma. Of course, we're going to play the first Montrose record, probably every song on that record, and some other Montrose stuff from the second record, etc. Some of Ronnie's solo guitar stuff. In addition to rock stars that are coming down, there are other kind of well-known, badass, a little bit more fusion jazz kind of guys, studio guys who are going to come and play some of Ronnie's more challenging and eclectic instrumental work. One or two of those through the night. Ronnie was actually in a band called Van Morrison.
Yes.
So he that's how he got his start. That was his first big star band that he was in. And so Ronnie played the Tupelo Honey record. So he wrote songs with Van Mo and did stuff off of that record. So we'll play Wild Nights and some other songs from that one. And it's a good long event, and it's a kind of a jamboree because we go through eras, and also the players that come in kind of go through eras, and it's a lot of fun. So other guys that are coming down, other people from other bands. Dave Ellefson from Megadeth will be down for sure. Jimmy DeGrasso was also in Megadeth. But both of those guys played together in Montrose during my tenure in the band for a few years. Let's see. Troy Lucetta, a drummer from Tesla, he worked with Ronnie on a few of the Gamma records, and Troy actually produced Gamma 4. So, and a lot of these players that are coming down have some kind of connection like that with Ronnie. Sean McNabb, who was in Quiet Riot and Great White and Lynch Mob and Dokken. He was also in Montrose for part of my tenure with Ronnie. Um, Brad Lang from Y&T is coming down. Lorraine Lewis from Vixen and Femme Fatale is coming down. There's just a lot of folks. Jack Russell's Great White is going to do a tribute to Jack
Nice.
at the show this year. And Robbie Lochner and Tony
Montana.
Cardenas Montana have also played the show several times. And and Jack also sang at Ronnie Montrose Remembered a few times. So the fans have gotten to know him, and he was a loving part of the family. And it's just horrible,
Yeah.
when you lose somebody. What can you say? That's that close. Jack was close to a lot of the players that play with us every year. So that's going to be a big moment in the show. And man, it goes on and on.
Yeah.
Andrew Freeman from Last in Line, and also he actually played with the great, the other Great White for a while. He sang a bunch of gigs this past year with them and the year before. He was also in I think they came out of the Orange County area, the Offspring. He was also in that band for a while.
Yeah.
So I could go on and on and on about the players because there's tons of them. Some of them I can't mention yet because they haven't officially um, committed their schedule to their endorsees yet and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
and haven't been able to officially in the press say yes. There are a lot more. You can check my Instagram page, Keith St. John Instagram, or my Facebook page, the Ronnie Montrose Remembered Facebook, or Ronnie Montrose Remembered.com,
Yeah.
which will also take you to the House of Blues ticketing page, which is run by Ticketmaster, and you can see what the seat selection is. The seats are individually selected this year, so if you go to the the Ronnie Montrose Remembered.com, you'll see an accurate seat map with the little colored dots that tell you what section is what. And that's my favorite way of looking at what the seats are before I actually go to the Ticketmaster site. So
Okay. Yeah.
anyway, I think I covered a couple of those questions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The big one was what was it like touring with Ronnie? I mean, just how was he? What kind of guy was he? Was he like a straightforward guy, a fun guy? What, very curious about that.
he was an interesting guy, and most people that have known him for a good number of years would tell you, he had a few sides to him, as a lot of really successful artists who are very good at commanding what they do uh, probably have. And I mean, Ronnie was never like a hothead, but he would tell me, "Hey Keith, there's a hothead in every band, and in that band it's so and so." And but I guess he was the guy in our band because it was Montrose,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he really commandeered the stage in a way that just had such he was so driven, and he had such a sort of fatherly, experienced speaker at the podium way of handling things that he had anything that happened. I mean, if the roof caved in, you weren't worried because Ronnie had it covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and then off stage, he was a really, really sweet, kind, very communicative in sort of a fatherly way kind of guy, which was a real huge extra bonus. He kind of had that hippie thing in him, and he liked to connect with that sort of warm spirit, ask you how your relationships are going and this and that, which is refreshing. You don't always find that in the business world, including the music business. So that was a really nice thing about Ronnie. And but he knew what he wanted. He knew it well. I think he probably gave me, um, as kind of the front man running point. I think he gave me a lot more slack, and just a lot more, just kind of do your thing on this, and let me make the set lists a lot and that kind of thing. And you know,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I know you got to do it your way and this and that. And Yeah, he was a great guy. Again, when you lose somebody that's
Yeah,
been in your life that many years, it's really tough.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Most days, Ronnie comes into my thoughts, or somehow comes,
yeah,
his legacy comes along my path, and he's still in my life, in a
and,
lot of ways, and
and
he
I
will
gotta
be
say,
circling, above the stage at the Ronnie Montrose Remembered gig. You
and I
know,
gotta say, Keith, that's the great thing about this event that you put on every year. I talked to you several times in the past about, but like Tom was saying at the top of today's show, I love the fact that you cover all eras of Ronnie's career. Because even I, as a Montrose fan, did not originally realize, oh, wait a minute, it's Ronnie Montrose that's playing on Free Ride. I think that's the cool thing. You kind of shine a light not just on the first two Montrose albums, which everybody just knows and adores, but all throughout his career. And I think that's what's great about this show. Talk about all that goes into putting on one of these shows. I mean, how much rehearsal will you guys put into putting on this great show that you're going to put on this year?
it's always been, as far as rehearsals, kind of a need to do basis. So if we got certain if certain people are consistently playing, say, on drums and bass in a certain song from one year to the next or a few years ago, or they're guys that were in the band for a lot of years, some of the stuff doesn't need rehearsal.
Yeah,
So let me just put that out there. But, the stuff that is in need of it, which maybe is about half the stuff each year, or a little bit more than half. It's just a potpourri. It's a nut house, man. I mean, it's like people are flying in and out of town. I got to figure out when they're coming, or I've got to bring them in myself earlier and get rehearsals together. And as soon as I find out people's schedule, which often doesn't happen until 2 weeks before,
yeah.
um, then I find the available rooms at the rehearsal rooms that are down there in Anaheim.
Wow.
And or if they're California boys from Southern Cal, we have some up in at Mates in North Hollywood and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So.
and I gotta say, I remember running into you at the Hall of Fame event last year. Me and Tom were there, and man, you were performing, and you got real command of the stage.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I don't know if you were there before stuff got started at the Hall of Fame, but the actual sound system and lighting system wasn't work. Neither one was working, and I happened to be
And,
there.
and yeah, you
And
soldiered through. You can tell, really. Yeah,
one of the co-hosts, Kathy Rankin, her husband happened to also know, tech stuff as I kind of do, from my younger years. And we actually got down and rolled up our sleeves and got on the ground and replugged in cables and helped those guys get it together, man. It was quite the day, man. So all these things happen on the fly. You don't expect them, and they just expect the unexpected.
but it's part of that the show must go on mentality that you put on a great rock show in spite of it, and you just soldier on. And we're all a big fan of that those first two Montrose albums. I mean, all the Montrose stuff, but let's talk about the first album because that's the one everybody goes to. It's over 50 years old now, and people are still digging it.
Wow, over 50.
Yeah, I mean, think
Woo-wee.
about that for a minute. I mean,
That's nuts.
what was it? Talk about when you first joined Montrose. As a fan, and you're getting a chance to play these songs.
Well, okay, so first question. Uh, as far as the whole Montrose record goes, I think it's definitely Bad Motor Scooter Rock Candy, maybe Space Station Number 5 are kind of the more like the general public kind of heard those songs first when they started coming out in the 70s. That record came out in 73.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow,
19. Yeah,
73.
yeah,
So yeah, you're right, over 50 years. And it was way, way more well known in
yeah.
sort of the Western half, probably of the US.
Sure.
I mean, definitely among the devout hard rock people, the big, that people that were fans of the early hard rock, early Aerosmith and Zeppelin and all that stuff. They heard the Montrose stuff, probably bought the album. But I just wanted to say, for the second question you asked me, I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up out on Long Island, as far from Southern California as you can
Okay.
possibly get, in the US. And it wasn't really big the way it was
Oh,
out
here.
here that I discovered in, Los Angeles and the Bay Area, the whole sort of West Coast. And it wasn't really until Ronnie asked me if I wanted to, he said he was going to put together a new version of his old band. I had already been working with Ronnie for, about a year just on our own songs without even ever talking about Montrose. And that just came up. And it wasn't until he asked me about that that I actually went and listened to the whole first record.
Oh,
And then I was like, oh my God, once you hear that album, you're just like, wow, because it didn't even really dawn on me because I
yeah,
had so many projects going on at once and, kind of just moving forward. And I was just always more of an artist type with my sort of head buried in the sand. And, you ask me, hey, did you hear about that new Poison record? I'd be like, huh? But
yeah,
so, so, and I love Poison, by the way.
sure, sure,
Uh,
sure.
so Ronnie asked me to do the thing, and then I said, okay, well, yeah, I'd be into it. And just like that. And I listened to a couple songs. We got a few people together and went into Leeds. Leeds had a rehearsal room, a big hall up in North Hollywood. And, he stopped after about 30 seconds of playing the first song we were doing. And he said, that sounds great, Keith. You want to do it? And that was it,
Wow, wow.
From there, from there, it just took off. I learned all the songs, did what you do, and got ready for the first show. And I had no idea how anticipated his return with another Montrose band was.
Wow, wow.
I had
Tom,
no idea what was going on in California. And we went out, we played in the Bay Area. We played like a 5,000 outdoor seater and it was packed and
yeah,
it was hysterical and it was amazing, So,
yeah.
and from that day on, that's what it was established as. And we just kept doing it.
I mean,
So,
yeah, I mean, yeah, that says it all. I mean, I think it's one of those things, Keith, where, um, yeah, they'd love to get the original Montrose band back together. That wasn't really possible, but these songs are just that great that if you get decent musicians playing them, very much like the show you're putting on. I mean, what was the moment where you kind of, after Ronnie's passing, you had the idea for this? Talk a little bit about that.
um, well, like I said, my head's kind of always in the sand. What happened was, Ronnie passed in 2012,
Yeah,
and you know, it is what it is.
sure.
And all those close to him, I think, were a little bit hysterical. Everyone's mind was like out there. And his memorial service, which was something that a lot of artists came to help celebrate him. It was a concert. It
Sure.
was done at the Warfield up in the Bay Area, and Sam came and played, and uh, Sam came and played. Joe Satriani played guitar with
Full
Sammy.
church, right? Yeah.
He picked songs he wanted to do. The original Montrose band minus Ronnie with Joe Sach and Neil Sean came and played. He did some Ronnie stuff, and then I came and sang what the song Sam didn't pick. Then I picked up the rest of the Montrose first record songs, and we did those, and all kinds of people came, and it was a really great event. Eric Martin came, Eric Singer came, Tommy Thayer came, and I'm sorry to leave anybody out, but a lot of really great people that were connected to Montrose in some way came down, and it was a great event.
In
But
fact, I remember you put out a great DVD of that concert, and that was where I kind of realized, okay, and was my epiphany. Okay, there's much more I realized after seeing that DVD to Ronnie Montrose's legacy than just those first two records. And
sure,
I thought, how cool is this that they're putting on this event not just to remember the guy, but to kind of showcase that.
sure, and even that at that event, I think Neil played "Town Without Pity." He played one of Ronnie's big instrumental guitar pieces, which was epic and amazing. So we do that as well. So uh, around the NAMM convention, I've never been like a guy to throw events or a concert promoter.
It's become your
And
thing, though, Keith.
around the
Let's be
NAMM
honest.
convention, I used to sometimes be asked to host things, just to be the singer and, at a guitar player's ball kind of stuff. And I'd do the talking and the singing and, have a few people up and down. And one of the guys one of the agents who used to put those together said, hey, Keith, it was 2016, 4 years later. He said, hey, Keith, I got an open room on Saturday night at this year's NAMM. he asked me in like August when NAMM is like in January, and he said, anything you want to do? And I said, holy shit, yeah, there is, because there were so many people that couldn't make it to that thing up at the Warfield.
Yeah.
And we talked about it back then, all of us who were there, but I kind of forgot about it. But as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, yes. And that was it. That birthed the brainchild for what became Ronnie Montrose Remembered.
Wow, wow.
Hey, I got a question for you, Keith.
Go
How
ahead.
did you meet Ronnie? How did you meet Ronnie? How did you end up playing with him?
Okay, well, I've got to give credit where credit is due. A gentleman named Ed Roth, who is keyboard player, and he is a constantly always working keyboard player. He's that guy that's in demand from rock players, from funk music, soul music, all kinds of stuff, man. And so Ed Roth was doing a session for my band Burning Rain over at Doug Aldridge's studio that he had at that time, and I think still has. And he came in and played some keys on some ballads. And before he left, one of the days he said, "Hey, man, there's somebody I really want to introduce you to. He's a real good friend of mine. He's looking to write some new music and looking for a singer, and he's got to hear you, man," that kind of a thing. And I said, "Cool, man." And it wound up being Ronnie. And we just, like I said, I mean, we started writing music together. That's what we did. Ronnie wanted to, he heard some tapes of me, and then we got together and jammed, and he liked it. And it was one of those old school things, writing songs. He came over my place. We banged on our laps, banging out drums, with acoustics, like recording ideas for songs. And in that day, Ronnie had a DAT player. So he'd come over with the DAT, right?
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely.
There'll be
Oh,
a
I used
link.
them before.
There'll
I've
be a
used
link
them
under
before.
this, what a DAT player is, right? So he'd come over, he'd set up stereo mics in the room because he was very meticulous about everything he did. He'd come over to my place and figure out which walls had the best reflections, and set up the the gold plated whatever mics he had, and Sennheisers or something, and we'd get it set up, and we'd sit there for hours all day recording, and we'd go over his place and do the same thing. Ronnie showed me the finer points of barbecuing food.
Oh, okay.
First time I went to his place, he was an avid barbecue guy, so he gave me the whole spiel, how to properly marinate and soak the ribs or whatever meat you're doing overnight. And first time I was over his house, he was like a kid in a candy store, bringing out the rack and showing me, all of the details and aspects of how he did this and what his grill entails and stuff. So I learned all of that from Ronnie.
Wow.
Show me how he, got the big steamer pot and steamed the spinach in its own juices and all kinds of cooking stuff, because Ronnie was an avid cook, so
Wow,
not a lot
wow.
of people know that one. So there's a tidbit.
Wow, that's
sorry I didn't
great.
cover that in the first multi answer, but
No, that's great. We love to learn stuff like that, Keith. We're running out of time, Keith. We want to thank you for coming on our show today. It was great having you on. Like I said, I've interviewed you many times in the past, and you're welcome back anytime. I'm going to try to make it out to the show this year, so maybe we'll see you there.
Please make it out to the show. Let me know if you're coming. We'll set you up in a good spot. Once again, everybody, it's Ronnie Montrose Remembered at the House of Blues Anaheim during NAMM weekend on January 24th, 2025.
Nice.
RonnieMontroseRemembered.com.
What a way to
Keith,
kick
thanks
off
so much.
Yeah.
Keith, thanks so much. And we want to thank Raquel too she's actually doing publicity for my record company too. What a great girl. You got a great publicist there.
Oh, she's amazing. She's totally amazing. I would recommend her to anybody in this business.
Absolutely.
I mean, she's got it. She's got it.
Absolutely, man.
Hey, take care,
buddy.
Bye-bye.
Peace, love, and rock and roll, baby.
Rock and roll.
All right, take care, guys. Happy New Year.